Is it worth playing Predator Hunting Grounds on 2025? The game is reaching 5 years now, and despite the wishes of some people, it's surprisingly not dead. But the game is not at its best state. Despite the release on Xbox, which brought a lot of new players and fixes to some game-breaking bugs, there are still many present in the game, and balance is at one of the worst that has ever been. I would say that if we compare to how the game was in 2020 at its release, it has a lot more content now. We have 3 more maps, 1 more game mode, like over 20 Predator skins by now, more weapons and gear. It's still, for 5 years, I think it's not enough. They could have done better in my opinion. The game does look better at the moment with the graphics update, and it runs much better on PC. The game had terrible FPS for many years and now it's better. The easy anti-cheat actually works now, so it's very rare for you to bump into any of those speed hackers nowadays. And for those that accuse me of hacking for the past 5 years, how do you explain that I can still play as I always did despite the easy anti-cheat being active? Am I supposed to be the only player to know how to bypass that? I believe that overall, for most people, the game is better now than it was in 2020, apart from the balance. The game always had balance problems. I think it's part of any asymmetrical multiplayer, but after the specializations were added, things just went too bad. Gameplay wise, I feel it was more fun in 2020. Now you're kinda forced, especially as the Predator, to play in a very specific way to have a chance against some Fireteams, which kinda limits the gameplay. The amount of weapons that could be fun to try, and you cannot try a bunch of them because they're just not good enough. And even when you try to play the meta way, I think a big problem with the game is the thing about the meta fighting gameplay, the meta Predator gameplay, and the gap between them. So even if you try to play as the meta as the Predator, you can still feel very underpowered. So in regards to content, I would say it's more worthy playing the game now than it was in 2020 at its release. That is for the new players that want to get it on the first time. However, the gameplay seems to have more problems than it did some years ago. But is it still fun? Well, fun is subjective. I think that people that are into FPS games and Predator fans can have some fun on this game. However, for how long this can last, I'm not sure. When are the game problems and lack of new content are gonna start to affect that? Because from the looks of it, we are not really getting anything substantial being added to the game's content in the future. And I don't count cheap Predator skins and reskins of already existing weapons as new content. So no more new maps, no more new game modes into the future. So if the game is really not going anywhere right now, it's expected that people won't be interested in sticking around. However, the fact that this is the only active Predator multiplayer right now kinda leaves no other options for Predator fans that want specifically to play a Predator game. Conquer Jungle is single player only, the AVP games aren't as active as they were, so if you really want the Predator experience, this is the game to go, which is usually the people that I recommend this game to. If you are a big Predator fan, I think you should give it a try. If you just like FPS games, there are much better options out there to play. As the Predator, the game gives a great experience on feeling as the creature in the gameplay. It looks like a big evolution on the movement from previous games. However, the moment you bump into good fightings, you won't feel as powerful as a Predator should. Sure, it's gonna be rare. The Fireteam players, most of them tend to be very casual in the game, so you can easily dominate them. But the game is still being called Fireteam Hunting Grounds for a reason. When players know what they are doing, it's usually the Predator the one being hunted, which can be dismotivating for some players. As the Fireteam, I think the best experience is to play with friends if you're just looking for fun, and friends that play specifically more chill, because if all the Fireteam players want to try hard, the match tends to be, in my opinion, very boring, as the Predator is gonna die too fast 99% of the time. Many of my friends stopped playing together because it was just way too easy, so most of us just prefer to just play alone or in a party of just 2 players, because otherwise, I mean, the game is just not that fun when like you wait 3 minutes for a match and the Predator dies in 10 seconds. I believe that playing around with friends is when you can get the most of it in regards to fun. Playing fighting solo can give a good challenge if that's what you look for, since most of the teammates that you find in public games tend to be very bad. So you pretty much have to defeat the Predator in a 1v1 to be able to win the match. But for some people that can be frustrating, since you have to do everything yourself, and I mean not everybody has, is willing to get good to the point of that you can pretty much like solo Predators in the game. In this game, you're gonna find the worst teammates you could ever have in a video game, the most useless branded randoms of all time. Which is good for the Predator players, since most of the matches you can really play around with the Fireteam and feel like a Predator. which is part of the reason why the developers made the Fireteam so OP. It was to make up for the bad players that you're gonna have in your Fireteam if you play alone. The game has been free before and on good sales, so I recommend waiting for something like that if you want to get into it, because I don't think Iconic deserves the money, and you shouldn't support them by buying more DLCs, because this is not that they should be doing. They're not really putting effort into this game, as most classes are just skins without anything different added into the gameplay. So if you're a Predator fan and can get the game on a good price, sure, I can recommend you this game. Otherwise, I feel the game has so much problems that it's better to just try something else. The future of the game relies on the developers not behaving like they have for the past years, so the chance is very low for improvements. There will still be updates in the future, but probably just more Predator DLCs that are gonna be added, but the game won't change much from what it is right now. So if you're playing the game, just note that this is it. The game is just this that you're seeing. The game as of now is pretty much all it's ever gonna be. There won't be any improvement. There won't be anything substantial that is gonna be added to the gameplay that's gonna change it much. Things are not really gonna be going better. The game doesn't really have much potential for the future. It just is what it is.